Welcome to Stocks to Watch for exclusive one-on-one discussions with company leaders as we navigate the tumultuous waters of modern investing with insight and clarity. In this episode, we're diving into a sector that might just be the key to safeguarding your wealth, carbon investing. I'm Ashley Berry, and today we're welcoming DevvStream Holdings co-founder and CEO, Sunny Trinh. The company is at the intersection of two of the hottest investment trends, ESG and blockchain technology. They're trading on the Canadian NEO exchange as DESG, in the US on the OTCQB as DSTRF, and in Frankfurt as CQ0. Sunny, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashley. It's great to be on the show.
Yeah, we're really excited for this conversation. So for those not familiar with DevvStream, maybe you can just give us a brief overview of the company, why you co-founded it. So maybe a little backstory there as well.
Sure. So DevvStream is a technology-based sustainability company created to advance the development and monetization of environmental assets, such as carbon credits. We are considered a leading expert in the carbon credit market by the United Nations and various government agencies throughout the globe. So we generate streams of revenue for other companies, organizations, or even cities and states through the use of carbon credits with a focus on technology. In other words, if a company has a technology or doing an activity that helps reduce energy consumption or greenhouse gas emissions, we come in and provide a full turnkey service where we generate carbon credits and turn them into revenue at no cost to them. How we get paid is that we get a portion of the credits we generate. So there's really no risk on their part, and it's a win-win for all parties. And I'll share one example. So EV chargers are eligible for generating carbon credits, but over 95% of the chargers out there aren't doing so because it's too complicated. It's too expensive and has a very lengthy process that can take up to 36 months. So we created a program where we are able to bring on any EV charging company in North America and roll them into our program, guide them through all the regulatory and legal requirements, generate credits within a few weeks for them. And we've already signed our first 3 EV charging companies. We're finalizing contracts with another half dozen or so, and are in advanced conversations with over another dozen. The combined number of installed chargers for all these companies together we're engaged with is over 100,000 chargers. And to give you an idea of the value, an average L2 charger in the United States generates roughly $500 to $1,000 per year from carbon credits. A DC fast charger generates $5,000 to $10,000 per year, and it's a minimum of 7 years. So if you do the math, this can add up really fast and be very lucrative for both the charging company and for DevvStream. And then finally, you mentioned our blockchain. We've developed a blockchain-based platform using what is considered to be the greenest blockchain available to manage all the data used to generate the carbon credits. And organizations like the UN and various government agencies have reached out to us about possibly using our platform for their carbon programs as well.
Fantastic. So I'd like to open up the aperture about carbon credits. Like what is it? And let's talk a little bit more. I mean, we talk about the environmental sustainability, really a fantastic mission. Would like to know a little bit more, I think, for our viewers and listeners about the carbon credit market per se as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. As we all know, global warming is a massive problem with the main cause coming from greenhouse gas emissions, such as carbon dioxide. To address it, the United Nations and countries throughout the globe have created emissions reduction goals and have signed agreements to meet them. Along with these goals, they created a financial mechanism called carbon credits that would essentially reward activities that reduce carbon emissions. So when an organization or a country does something that eliminates, avoids, or sequesters carbon dioxide from the air, they would receive 1 carbon credit for every metric ton.
Right.
Then for companies or countries that have excessive emissions, they would need to buy 1 carbon credit for every ton they're above either a regulatory threshold or a voluntary goal. And then that money would go towards the organization that's doing good. And that helps advance it further. And these goals that are made are by no means small. It's estimated that we will need to reduce 23 billion tons of CO2 annually by 2030. And roughly 12.5 of these tons will be driven by carbon credits. This is why the carbon credit market is already massive and continuing to grow. The market is estimated to be over $1 trillion in 2023 and growing to over $2.6 trillion in 2028. And that's annual.
Impressive. I'm curious about the unique capabilities of your company. Let's talk about the competition. Are there other carbon credit companies out there? And what are your unique capabilities at DevvStream?
Yeah, there are other carbon credit developers out there, but the majority of them focus on nature-based projects such as reforestation and conservation. Not a good or bad, that's just how the market evolved.
Mm-hmm.
DevStream, on the other hand, is focused on technology. Both are necessary in order for the world to address climate change because it's so massive, like I said earlier. However, no one's really taking the technology approach like we do, even though it's potentially going to be a much bigger market. There are studies that have been done stating that nature-based projects will only contribute up to 20% of the solutions necessary to address climate change. The rest needs to come from technology, which we are a leader in. The reason is because there are inherent advantages with technology. The first is that it's extremely scalable. So for example, we have a technology partner that we're under contract with that can reduce energy consumption in wastewater treatment plants by up to 83%. For a small, medium-sized plant, this could equate to over 1 gigawatt hours of electricity savings per year. And just about every city in the world has wastewater treatment requirements. So you can scale it over and over again. Another advantage is the environmental impact is much quicker. For a reforestation project, for example, in order to make a dent, it could take a decade or longer for the trees to mature. Many technologies that we work with can make an impact immediately after it's implemented, which can sometimes be as short as a few weeks, such as our EV charger program. And then finally, a third advantage is that the data that shows the impact the technology makes is much more precise and accurate. Take the wastewater treatment technology, for example. We can tell you exactly how much energy savings occurred down to the kilowatt hour simply by looking at the electricity meter. Mm-hmm. From there, we can precisely calculate the amount of reduction in emissions. This allows us to generate carbon credits that are more reliable and precise, which in turn increases their demand and value. This is why we already have definitive orders for our credits for delivery from 2024 through 2027 that are valued in the tens of millions of dollars. And then one other advantage is that it's the breadth of technology available. This is why we're able to have a pipeline of over 140 projects with over a dozen signed contracts that can potentially generate over $500 million per year worth of carbon credits when fully deployed.
And so, and as I mentioned earlier, the environmental sustainability, this must be very important to you because you talk a lot about that. You talk a lot about the return on the environment. You talk about the trees. I mean, I think that's fantastic. Maybe you could just dive a little bit deeper into what it is personally that really touches you with what you're doing and your mission.
Yeah, no, I think that's another great question. So I come from an engineering background, hence the focus on technology. And our team is made up of mostly engineers and physicists. So we have 4 PhDs. And my background is in semiconductor chips. And during that time in the chip market, I worked with a lot of energy efficiency and renewable energy companies and saw that they were struggling to compete against fossil fuels. Fossil fuels was just too inexpensive. And also, at the same time, I've always been interested in ESG back when it was called CSR, corporate social responsibility. So that's been over a decade. And part of that is, number one, to really help the world. But part of it is I have 3 daughters and I want to leave this world a better place for them as well, too. And if we don't change what we're doing as far as the environment is concerned, that's not going to happen. Ashley, you mentioned that you're having some crazy weather in DC right now. A big part of that probably is because of climate change. And we're seeing that over again. And so in order to address a lot of these things, I want to do something that would, number one, fits my background, which was in technology, and do it in a way that would help the environment. And again, leave the world a better place for my 3 daughters.
Absolutely. We'll talk about a message that should absolutely resonate with our audience. I recently read that you're going through a SPAC merger, and this is what's very interesting about this, that it'll allow DevvStream to be the first carbon credit company on NASDAQ. That's a big deal. Can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, no, over the past 12 months, DevvStream and Focused Impact Acquisition Corp, they're our SPAC sponsor and they're a NASDAQ listed SPAC. We've worked diligently to enter into a definitive business combination agreement. I believe this has the potential to escalate DevvStream to a new frontier on the NASDAQ in terms of valuation, liquidity, and carbon market presence. We have already submitted our registration statement on Form S4 to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, and have gone through several rounds of comments with the SEC. That's what I was doing this morning, going through that. We believe that this puts us on track to complete our business combination and be listed on NASDAQ in a very short amount of time. This transaction assigns a valuation of $145 million to DevvStream. What this means for our existing shareholders is that all their shares will be rolled over into the new NASDAQ company, and the share exchange conversion ratio will provide an implied share price of their current stock at $2.16 Canadian, or roughly $1.62 US, which represents a substantial premium compared to current share prices. So it lifts all of us up.
And so you say very soon. Are we talking 6 months, a year? Do you have any better time frame? Ballpark?
Yeah, roughly 1 to 2 months.
Wow,
so,
that's soon. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah,
like
no, we've been going through this for a while. So,
and you're up early, burning the midnight oil, trying to get this done. So best of luck to you on that. And aside from your very powerful message, your very powerful personal message, I should say. Also, you talked about the corporate governance. We obviously talked about the environment. Anything final that you'd like to share with those that have listened to your powerful story, your incredible mission, might be on the fence? Anything you could say to them about the importance of investing in your company?
Yeah, no, I'd just like to summarize what I shared earlier. First, we are a leader in the carbon credit market, especially on the technology side, which is expected to make up around 80% of the solutions out there. Second, the carbon credit market is already over $1 trillion annually, and most people aren't aware of this. So it's massive, and it's expected to more than double in the next 4 years. I mean, there's not a lot of industries you can say that about. Third, we have contracts for generating carbon credits, over a dozen contracts, and for selling them as well, and expect to be profitable by first half of next year. And lastly, we are in the last stages of our SPAC merger to be listed on NASDAQ, and as I said, expect it to happen quite soon. So, and as you mentioned, Ashley, we're currently public on the CBOE exchange in Canada, CBOE Neo, along with the OTCQB in the US and Frankfurt Exchange. So now we have an opportunity to get our stock. People have an opportunity to get our stock before we uplist on the NASDAQ, at which time it will open at an implied share price that it does represent a premium over the current share price.
Well, this was quite an enlightening conversation. I very much appreciate your time. Sunny Trinh, co-founder and CEO of DevvStream Holdings. Thanks again for your time and for sharing your wonderful insights here on Global One Media's Stocks to Watch. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Ashley. It was a pleasure to be here.